Republican Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas, a member of the House Intelligence Committee, an outspoken critic of China's handling of the pandemic, and he said more than a year ago that COVID could have very well originated in the Wuhan lab, an idea that now everyone seems to be coming around to being open to. Senator, good to have you here. First of all, your thought on this intellectual property issue, that it's seen as benevolent by the White House to share our intellectual property on the mRNA technology and science that we used to generate these vaccines. Do you think that's a good idea?
No, Martha, it's a terrible idea. Look, we have more than enough vaccines in this country now. Of course, we want to share vaccines with other countries around the world, in particular our friends who may be struggling to afford or find the vaccines. But that's very different from giving the underlying technology away, technology that American and other Western countries have invested in for decades. This vaccine was created last year, but it's built on long-standing research and development efforts. Now China is just going to be able to take that technology unless we reverse course. So we should help other countries get the vaccine, but we should never waive the property rights of decades worth of American taxpayers' investments in research and development.
Yeah, I mean, among other things, biowarfare potential capability is very frightening. It also zaps the incentive for all of these pharmaceutical companies to be first and to fund the research that goes into this. Who knows when we're going to have to deal with something like this again. With regard to the recalibration of how everyone seems to be looking at this, and we now have this report that 3 scientists at the Wuhan lab were hospitalized with COVID-like symptoms in November of 2019. Everyone, thought that you were being xenophobic when you kept saying, we got to look at this lab in China. Now it seems to be sort of common knowledge that, yeah, we got to look at this lab in China, Senator Cotton.
Yeah. So, Martha, it was last February, just about a month or so after the coronavirus first reached the United States, that I said it sure is a big coincidence that this virus seems to have originated in Wuhan, a city larger than New York, which has a laboratory that researches deadly coronaviruses. And all the evidence since then has suggested that the virus came from the laboratory, not from that food market in Wuhan, which is always a cover story for the Chinese Communist Party. So I'm glad to see that Democrats and all these public health bureaucrats and scientific so-called experts like Dr. Fauci are coming around to accept what basic common sense would tell most Americans. Now we need to demand that China give us answers to exactly what was happening in that laboratory and what these 3 scientists came down with in apparently October, November of 2019. Again, coincidentally, right at the time the coronavirus pandemic was starting in Wuhan.
It's kind of unfathomable why we haven't seen a stronger hand from the White House on wanting to get China to tell us everything that they know about this. In January, President Biden said, don't call it the China virus, don't call it the Wuhan virus. He didn't want any, federal entities using that language. He banned them from using that language. It's hard to understand the significance of that. Why so careful when we see all of these things? There's no evidence at all that it goes back to an animal, is there?
Not that I've seen, Martha. Again, we don't have any direct evidence of either argument, that it came from a lab or it came from that food market or from an animal. What we do have is all the circumstantial evidence of the Chinese Communist Party covering up its tracks, trying to conceal the origins of this virus. That's why we need to demand answers.
All right, Senator Tom Cotton, thank you very much. Good to have you here, sir. And you've been saying this for a long time now. Dr. Fauci seems to agree with you that it's possible that it didn't evolve naturally, this virus. Thank you, sir.